everybody, welcome to my channel. My name's Mel. Thank you so much for joining me today for my Indie Accords TBR. So for those of you that don't know, I will be a team leader and co-host for the Indie Accords Readathon running throughout the entire month of July. I will link my announcement video along with the announcement videos from the other team leaders and our incredible host Lana down in the description below. So Lana came up with this amazing readathon that's all about supporting indie authors and indie publishers, and she asked myself and 3 other people, Leslie from the Nerdy Narrative, Lena from Sufficiently Advanced Lena, and Chelsea from Chelsea Zhao to be team leaders for this incredible readathon. So there are 4 teams. There is fantasy and sci-fi, which is led by Lena. There is horror, mystery and thriller, which is led by Leslie. There is romance, which is led by Chelsea. And there is literary, contemporary and historical fiction, which is led by me. Lana is the host of the entire readathon, so she will be flitting between the different groups and helping us out with things as well as doing her own reading. Like I said, for all the information on how you can participate, how you can get involved, all of the stuff that you need to know to be part of the readathon is in the description below, so please go ahead and check all of that out. As I am the team leader for literary, contemporary and historical fiction, I will be reading from those 3 genres throughout this readathon. As you guys know, I do read a lot of fantasy and magical realism, but I do also read quite a bit of historical, contemporary and literary fiction, so that is what my focus is going to be for this month's TBR. Also, as you guys know, normally I do my roll of reads to determine what books I will be reading during the month of July, but because I had the fact that I wanted to make sure they were all indie, the fact that I wanted to make sure they fit into those 3 genres, I'm not going to do the roll of reads for July. It just was way too difficult to organise when it's so random because it's what the D20 rolls and the prompts and stuff. We won't be doing any punishments or talking through how June is going. We will just be talking about the TBR, so everything that happens in June will roll over in August for the TBR for August. For today, we are just going to talk about my TBR for the Indie Accords Readathon, which I'm super excited about and very, very grateful and amazed that Lana asked me to be part of it. So thank you, Lana, for all your hard work. So, the TBR. The first thing on the TBR is the group book. So there is one group book that is across the whole readathon, and that is A Court of Honey and Ash. And I can't remember who wrote the book, but I have put an image of it here so you can see who the authors are. Anyway, so this is a young adult fantasy, obviously because it's an independent readathon. This is an independently published book. Lana just is super excited for it, and she has made me super excited for it. It sounds really interesting and really, really fun. So I'm definitely going to be reading that one. I don't know a huge amount about this one. I know that it's fae. I know that it features... No, is it even fae? No, I don't think that's right. Sorry, my mistake. But it's fantasy and it features magic, and yeah. I need to go ahead and remind myself about this book, don't I? But I am excited about it. It does sound really good. I have actually gone through and given you a description in my announcement video, so go and check that out if you would like more information about that book. Then each team has a group book that they will be reading, so the team leaders will be reading as well as anyone else that wants to read it as part of their team. And for this one, I have chosen for us all The Rain Heron by Robbie Arnott. This is a book that will actually work for multiple prompts, and I'll go into details about the prompts in a minute. So as well as it being the group book, which you get 20 points for, it also will cover a few different prompts that you'll then get points for as well. It's literary fiction, so yeah, I thought it worked perfectly. I'm just going to give you a very quick synopsis. So it's set in Australia. It is a apocalyptic dystopian, and it is about a young woman who lives alone as a bit of a hermit, and then one day she meets a young soldier who is coming to the mountains in search of a local myth, and they kind of get to know each other. Their lives start to entwine whilst they live in this dystopian world in the bush. So I think it sounds great. I'm not sure that I've done a great job of explaining it, but I do think it sounds really, really interesting. And can we just look at this cover? Isn't that beautiful? So The Rain Heron is our team book. If you are joining me for Team Historical, Literary and Contemporary. So, as I just mentioned, and as you know if you are joining us in the readathon, there is a bingo board that you need to fill all of the prompts. You can double up on prompts with the books, but you will only get the points for one prompt per book, or one prompt per book. So I'm going to try and read a different book for each prompt, but I have doubled up one of them with The Rain Heron, so you will see that in a moment. So on the screen I have put up the bingo board with all the names of the prompts. There are two bingo boards. One has the names of the prompts and another has a description of what the prompts are. So I'll just go through and show you the books that I will read for each prompt. First prompt, which is the furthest on the left up the top, is the Do We Have an Accord? And for this one we need to read a book with pirates or that is set at sea. For this one I will be reading The Oyster Girl by Ren Fraser Cameron. Again, look at that cover, just gorgeous. I don't know a huge amount about this one, so I'm going to read the blurb for you. She was the oyster girl, clamped onto life, encased in a brittle sharp shell, a shadow in the mud, her story a secret. This is a version of Tasmania that you have never read. A novel of the sea and sailing that tells the story of an island through the eyes of an unforgettable woman. Pearl McQueen, the Oyster Girl. Starting as it means to go on, systematically the Oyster Girl traces Pearl from her time as an indentured worker diving for muttonfish and crazed through love, friendship, fortune, and some of the cruel dealings of fate. Cameos from many of the island's most recognisable historical figures, fleshed out with failings and foibles, are spotted throughout the story. For one so vulnerable in her time, a woman alone, Pearl is a feisty and textured character who will stay with you long after you have finished reading. So yeah, I think that sounds really, really interesting. It is a literary fiction, adult literary fiction, which I'm really excited for. Like I said, I think it sounds amazing. And also, it's about Tasmania, which is where I live, which is always very exciting, especially because you really don't see that very much. So definitely looking forward to that one. Heading across into the middle of that top row, Out of This World, and for that you need to read a dystopian. So for this one I am doubling up with The Rain Heron. So like I said, it is a dystopian. I believe it's a not too far in the future dystopian, but it is definitely after some kind of cataclysmic event has happened and the world is not quite what it used to be and is probably not doing that well. So yeah, as I said before, I'm excited for this one. It sounds really interesting, and yeah, like I said, it fits a few prompts. So I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute, but this one is my dystopian. Last one in that top row is Everything Hurts, and for this we need to read a book that features a middle-aged main character. I am sort of stretching that a little bit with my books that I've chosen, because I'm reading a book that features a 60 or so year old, so not really middle-aged really, but I'm only stretching it by a few years, so I'm definitely going to count it. And that is Dreaming Spies by Lore King. So this is the 13th book in a series. Features Mary Russell, who is the apprentice / now partner to Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes has retired to the Sussex Downs, and then in the first book he meets the then young 16-year-old Mary Russell and discovers that she is almost as intelligent, if not as intelligent, as he is, and has an incredible mind and incredible art and for detection and observation. So he begins to train her, and then they continue their partnership throughout the series. So each book has a different focus, a different storyline, but it definitely continues the story of Russell and Holmes, and it's told from Mary Russell's point of view, and it's from the late Victorian era up into the 1920s and 30s, so it covers quite a bit of history, which is really interesting. So yeah, this is a historical fiction novel, which I think will be really fantastic. I just realised that I haven't actually said who published them. Since it is a indie book readathon, I thought that it might be worth saying who published what books. So this one was published by Bantam Books. The Rain Heron was published by Text Publishing in Melbourne, Australia. This is an Australian publishing company. And then The Oyster Girl was published by, I think it was self-published, so that's exciting. Alright, so next one in the middle, One Love, and that is to read a book with LGBTQIA+ representation. So for this one, I'm going to read Only Mostly Devastated by Sophie Gonzalez. This is a contemporary queer retelling of musical Grease. I am really excited for this one. It's not super long, so I think that I should be able to breeze through it quite quickly. I've heard amazing things about it. Quite a few people that I know have really loved this one. This is actually a book that I'll be buddy reading with Connor, so that will be really fun. And yeah, like I said, I'm really excited about this one. Queer retelling of Grease, what more do we need to know? This one was published by Potter Children's Book. Now, the middle tile is a bit of a free space as far as reading goes because we need to leave a review for one of the books that we read for the readathon somewhere. So I will probably leave a review on Goodreads, but also potentially I will do a dedicated review on this channel. I'm not 100% sure which book I will pick, but I'm very likely to choose one of these two because they are Australian, which isn't particularly well known in the world stage, so yeah, but we'll see how we go. Next one along is The Journey Unknown, and for this we need to read a book that features a quest. So for this one I'm going to be reading Starvation by Molly Fenig. This book has been published by Immortal Works Publishing, which I believe is a boutique publishing house from Utah in the United States. Molly contacted me on Twitter and asked if I'd be interested in reading the book and giving an honest review, so I may very well do more than one review in this one. I'm not sure again whether it will be on this channel or on Goodreads, but I will definitely do that somewhere since Molly approached me and asked me. So I have a PDF of the book, so I'll probably read it on the computer. I'll see how I go. But anyway, this is a book about a young man whose brother has been killed, I believe in an army battle altercation, and the young man is trying to sort of figure himself out. He's trying to find himself and understand what happened. So the quest is a very personal inner quest. I believe that he battles with some eating disorders, and yeah, so I think that there is a lot of mental health rep and that sort of thing in there as well. It sounds really interesting and I'm really excited to read it, and thank you Molly for contacting me with this one. Next up is the prompt Hard Yakka, and for this we need to read a book written by an Australian or New Zealand author, and for this one I am going to read The Long Trip by Chris Sadler. This is a bit of an older one. It was published in the 1980s, I believe, 87, by Albatross Books, which I don't even know if they exist anymore. They were an Australian publishing company. This is a book that is all about a man in his late 20s, I think, trying to figure himself out, try to figure out what he wants to do with his life, and I'm just going to read the blurb to you because I think that would do a better job of describing it. Steve's trip was indeed long, what with dropping out, drug taking, dabbling in philosophy and heading for parts unknown with a backpack. But a long trip to where? To the apparent bliss of heroin, to the where all gods world of Nietzsche, to the freedom of wilderness and surf, set against Mount Kosciuszko's summer slopes, Sydney's skyscrapers and beaches, and New Zealand's coast and mountains. The story centres on a modern-day everyman in search of himself. Almost unsought come unmistakable clues, pointers in a quest as ancient as man himself, to the big questions that all of us ask from time to time. So yeah, I think that sounds quite interesting and I'm quite looking forward to reading it. Then we have the prompt You Are Not Alone, and for this we need to read a book featuring an ensemble or a platonic friendship, and for this one I am going to be reading The Girl with Stars in Her Eyes by Zio Axelrod. I apologise if I have said that name incorrectly. One is about a young well, I keep saying young, I mean in like 20s-ish girl, Tony, and when she was a teenager she was in a relationship with this person, Seb, who was a bit older than her, and she's very into music, and then Seb, when he turned 18, he left. Now that Tony is grown up herself, she is trying to break into the Philadelphia music scene. She comes across a band called the Lilies, and she thinks they will be a perfect band for her, and she wants to try out to be in the band. But the only problem is that Seb is the manager. So the reason I've chosen this one for this particular prompt is because it features a band which is kind of like an ensemble, so I think that works really well, and I think it sounds like an interesting book. Again, love the cover. Yeah, so I'm really excited to read this one as well. So the final prompt is The Little Guy, and for this we need to read a middle grade independent book. I have actually gone way back into my childhood, and I have picked The Naughtiest Girl in School by Enid Blyton. So this one was published originally by Dean and Son Publishing Company. This is a very old edition, so I think that this might even have been an edition that was published back in the day by those people. I assume that it's now Enid Blyton's rights to the books are now owned by, you know, Penguin or someone, but it was published originally by an independent publisher. The Naughtiest Girl in School is one of her contemporary middle grades. It is about a girl who goes to school and she's very unruly, she's very naughty. It's about her learning how to not be the naughtiest girl in school and making friends along the way. It was one of my favourite Enid Blytons when I was a kid, and I'm intrigued to see what I think of it now. I should just add that Dreaming Spies, I just discovered, was, like I said, published by Bantam Books, and they are an imprint of Random House. They were, I think, originally an independent publisher, but they've been bought out by Random House, and I've been trying to avoid any books that were imprints or subsidiaries of bigger publishing houses, but I really want to continue with my L'Oreal King series because it's been quite a while since I picked any of them up. Also the middle-aged main character. But yeah, I think that if it was originally published by an independent publishing house, even if they've now been bought out by other companies, it's okay. I hope so, because that's the book I've chosen. So I know that some people might be struggling to find Australian books, so I just wanted to point out that these two books were published by Australian publishers and written by Australian authors, as was this one. So yeah, these are all options that you could use, and this one I'm using it for dystopian, but it also features an LGBTQIA+ relationship. It's also set by the sea, so it would work for a few different prompts, like I said. So, and it's Australian, so yeah, just wanted to point that out. So that is my TBR for the India Chords Readathon. I'm really excited about this Readathon, and I really hope that you guys are as well. Like I said before, if you want to know more information, get involved, be part of it, all that stuff, the information for everything is in the description below, along with my team leaders and Lana's channels, so you can go and check all of that out as well. Obviously, I would love it if you joined my team, but if you are more of a fantasy reader, more of a horror reader, or a romance reader, then there are 3 other teams that you could choose from, run by some amazing booktubers. So yeah, highly recommend checking out their announcement videos as well and seeing whether you would like to join any of their teams. But yeah, that's it from me today. So please comment below and let me know if you're taking part in the Readathon, if you are planning on joining my team, or if not, which team you're planning on joining. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I have talked about in this video. I would love for you to comment some kind of Australian, like a kangaroo maybe, or a koala or something emoji, since I'm Australian and since we have the prompt hard yakka. If you would like to leave me a comment but you're not sure what, that kind of emoji would be fantastic. All of my social media details are also listed in the description below, so if you'd like to go and follow me on any of those platforms, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would absolutely love it if you would go and subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. So yeah, like I said, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.